So now we have seen that we could actually have a model, simple model, that only give us the element we want to show, and we still have not put the feedback, the post back in the model. We might do that in the next step as well, or we might keep it separated. But for the next step, I will just show you how we can use the helper, so we can make the list box a little bit more easy than we did in the first place. So in the first place we use the HTML, in the next we generate the full HTML. So we still got this select and the name of this select box put in the same in the Razor file. So we have a lot of code in this view. So we can reduce it a little bit, and that would be the next step. So let's make start with a new controller. Not a new controller, but a new action, of course, just an action. So this HTML, so we can actually steal a little bit from those two, I think, and change the name, and I have something to start on. So it's complaining, so this will be the HTML helper. So that's the only thing I've changed in the first place. And then to make the folder and all this stuff, it might be the easy way is just make a new view and then throw all the content away and put in the other one. So let's try to make a new view, add a view, and let's just be sure that it can be used. So it's a create, and this one I threw it away anyway, but I have seen that sometimes if I don't, for instance, check this one, then I actually miss something in the DLL in the end. So create view, and so now we got a view with a form, and then I can actually just throw away all the contents of the form. It might be through here. So I got an empty form, and as we saw here, we got a wrong model, so we steal it from the last one. So we still have different headers. So the model in the first place will just be the list, and then we take the content of the form we had here, all the content, steal it and place it here, and now we will start up making changes. So it's probably, we could have done it in the other one, but now we have a copy, so we still have the other one left and can make the and see what's going on there. So you can see here we got all this stuff to make the list box. So we'll try to make it a little bit simpler using the Razor HTML helper, and so let's try to see here what's to be done. And then we probably, I haven't talked about that, but we actually need also to change the model a little bit because it will complain. You will see that in a minute. So throw this away, and then we will try to make using the HTML HTML. If I can type. This is the helper, and you will see here that we can find a list box. Let's see if we can find it. Drop down list box. Is it? Haven't we got just a list box? List box there. Yes. It has some argument. The first is the name of the list box. You can see, and so we could have an empty list box. We probably don't like that. Then we can have one with an I enumerable, but you can see the type is a little bit different than ours. The element should be select list items. So that actually gives a little bit problem. So we'll try to solve that by changing the model a little bit. And we can actually also code it directly here, but I think we will try to change the model so it's not passing a list of currency, but it's passing a list of select list items. And then there's some more. You can see we can actually put more HTML attributes into it, and we can manage the time. Then I will also give you a little really simple example where we actually are making really small JavaScript. So when we select an item, we actually get a post back without having a button. That sometimes we just want to click and select one, and then we want to have a post back immediately to change something. So I will show you how to do that. That's JavaScript needed, but it's actually not so much, so it could be done easily. So, but the first is the name, and if we keep it like we had before, then we should use the same name as we did before. So let's say what it's called, because else we might also need to rename the parameter, because the name that's sent and the name we received as a parameter should be the same. So this was the first one. So this is the name of the list box, and then it needs, you saw, it needs some kind of model. It needs the list of select list items. So let's start to have a look at that. So we need to change this one. Instead of it's the currency element, then it must be select items. And we go to the controller to make that one. If I have it still, yes, I can have it here. So this will be okay for the first part, but we need something else here. So we need some kind of collection class with select list items. So let's make such one list. So we make a list and select list items. Let's just call it li. And now you see there is different thing we can do in this constructor. And you will see that one of them making an empty one of them that we can actually say how many elements we want to be there in the beginning. And the last one, actually, you can see we can put an enumerable collection into it. So we could actually have another list here, but let's make it simple in the first place. So we just make it by using a loop. That would be really easy. And then there is a way that we actually can make it a little bit more efficient in one line of code, because we can tell which part of the element it should be built from. So let's start up with this one, new, and then just make it for each item in. This is a bad idea calling it. Yeah, well, it's okay. Yes, list item in L. So it's a little bit short, but it's only a few lines, so might go. So now we have all the items. So we should produce a new item. So let's make a var e equal new, and then select list item like this, and then we could actually use the short notation, so we could put in the property directly instead of, there's no constructor. I don't think we could see, maybe, no, there's only the default constructor, but we can find the elements. So we have the one called value, you see, and we got one called text, and then we actually got one that's called selected. So the selected is actually the one showing if it should be selected from beginning. So when we come back, then of course we have selected from the beginning some of them, and we don't deselect them, then they will be selected. But this is the main thing, that we got those two. This is the key, and this is the code we see. So now we need to put it in here. So the value should be the item dot, and it was the ISO we needed as this one, and the next one should be the text, and the text one should be the item dot ISO, and then probably we'll add a space, and then plus item dot. Now you see we need to do that more than once. So maybe we should make a little bit change in the model, because we need sometimes to have this seen as a text. We could make a toString, that might be an option, but in this case it cannot. There will be some times where we cannot have a function, we cannot call a method, but we can have a property. So in this case it might be actually a good idea making a property giving us what we want to see when we have it in text format. So that could be another way of doing it. So let's do that, then we can spare some time in the end. And you can see that a property not necessary is actually a field. It could actually be a calculation. So let's go to the consi and say we got another property, public string, and should I just call it text? That might be what they call it a lot of places. So text, and then we need a get method, get, and we need set. It could be done in one line maybe, so let's do it in 2 lines, and then we just make a set anyway, just in case that when we are passing it, sometimes when we are serialized, we need that there is a set even if we don't use it. So we could actually have here just making true exception not implemented or something like that, or we could just do nothing because it has no idea. But the get should return this dot ISO plus space plus this dot name plus space plus this dot, and it was exchange rate, like this one. So just putting in this calculation because we needed a lot of time, and then we can actually now use it in the controller instead. So now text is just taking the text. So you can see it's a little bit more easy. So this is one item, and when we are past them all, we got a model which is selected list items with every one of them has the ISO as the value, and every one of them has the text as the text. So now we can pass this one instead, the list item, and then of course we also need to change here because now we change the type of the model. So now it's selected list item model. So we also need to change it in this one. So it might be selected. Can it help me? Selected list item? Yes, it could. So this one. And you could see that it wants a list of selected list items. So now we can give it the model. So there was a little bit extra work you could see in the controller. Here we got this extra work because we needed to convert from normal object to selected a list of selected list items, and that gives us a little bit more work. But we could actually also put this in the repository, so we could actually just get a list that match what we needed instead, so it could be reused. Now we put it everywhere, so we need to do the same here. So you can see already now we got a problem because we need to change both here but it's not a really big problem, it's just making a copy. But if we change it more than once, it might be a better idea, remove some of the code to another class. That's not special here, it's general. If you have more code that's doing the same, maybe you should think about having a method in a class for doing that. Yes?
Right now the list I think is empty because we really know the icon to the list. We should add the icon to the list. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. We are still missing an important part because we made the items, but we don't add them to the selected list. Yes. So I actually now I got the problem. You can see that I actually have code because I have code two places. I don't maintain it maybe both places, so that could be a problem. So it was the I. So in this case, there will be benefit of removing the code to another function, another method. So yes. And when we are making something like a repository here, and we know that we need a ListBox, then it could be probably be a good idea that there was a function here that maybe could give it a static function that could give us a list item collection class based on giving it input with a list of objects. But it can be done a little bit more easily if I can remember where. Put it, I find it, because you can do it in one command. there is actually the possibility that you can build it and tell which two elements you actually want as a value and a text. But let's try and see if it's working. You can see it's definitely more simple now. Instead of having all the code we had before, making the select in HTML and the loop and the end of the select, now we only have one statement. But this is actually doing exactly what we did. Exactly. So it's just. So let's try, see if it's working. So back, select, still a multiple select. And one problem is now we don't have the chance to make a single select. So the one we use in here can only make multiple select. So so we need to make one help ourselves if we want a single select box. But probably that's because they also have something they call a drop-down ListBox, and that's normally used for single selection. So the only difference is that you only see one line, and then you will have the drop-down when you click on it, and then you can select, and then you will only see the one selected. So that's probably what you will do if you don't want to have your own. But if you can see here, we're still doing the same. So if we go to Fiddler and see what's going on, we have a make a post back. So now I need just to find it. This one. So you can see we have one selected. Okay, that was a little bit more simple. Then we could actually, we are running out of time, so we'll stop here now. But there is also the one that gives us the selection still, where we put in the same like this, but instead of this one, we got the ListBox 4 construction. Then we could actually take the name of the model. So if we make a model with the name of it, like here, and put it in an object, then this name could be substituted by the name of the property. So if I make a model with the list in, with the selected list in, then instead of having this as a fixed text, then I actually put it in as a property. Then it will make the binding for the name, and but we cannot manage to do that now. It's eating time, so maybe a bit later, when I have talked with the groups, and or maybe next time we can see that. Yeah. Okay.